AITA for serving my sister-in-law's ex as the wedding bartender after she uninvited my cousin for being too working class? Oh hi Reddit. You ever plan a low-key wedding and somehow still end up with a family civil war, 2 emergency group chats, and a guest list so messy it deserves its own reality show? Yeah. Welcome to my life. My now husband and I decided we wanted a chill, fun wedding. Backyard vibes, open bar, food trucks, dogs allowed, no drama. Naturally, that lasted exactly 13 minutes into the planning process. Enter my sister-in-law, Kaitlyn. Yes, with a Y. It's important to the vibe. Kaitlyn immediately declared herself my wedding brand consultant. I didn't ask for one, but she arrived with Pinterest boards and unsolicited opinions like a human pop-up ad. Everything I liked was too tacky, too brunchy, or too much like someone who shops at Target for formal wear. But I stayed polite until she told me we needed to curate the guest list better because, and I quote, some of your cousins feel a little blue-collar. It might throw off the ambience. She was talking about my cousin Joey, who is a mechanic, smells faintly of motor oil and kindness, has been to every family event since the early 2000s and once carried Kaitlyn to her car when she twisted her ankle at a barbecue. I told her to shove the ambience, and that Joey was obviously still invited. She retaliated by accidentally leaving his name off the RSVP system twice. So I did what any emotionally stable bride would do. I hired her ex-boyfriend as the wedding bartender. Before you judge, 1. I didn't go looking for him. He's my friend's brother and already working with the catering company. 2. He was very happy for the gig. And 3. He looks hot now. Like gym membership and beard oil hot. She saw him 10 minutes into cocktail hour, turned the color of uncooked chicken, and spent the rest of the night hiding behind the mimosa wall. Her current boyfriend, an NFT bro named Blake who kept calling my grandmother based, had no idea what was going on and just kept asking if we had crypto canapes. Kaitlyn's now telling everyone I weaponized the guest list and made her uncomfortable on purpose. I personally think if you're going to gatekeep my guest list like it's a Manhattan rooftop bar, you don't get to complain when karma shows up wearing a bartending apron and serving mojitos. So, Reddit AITA? Update 1. Kaitlyn threw a healing birthday brunch and accidentally invited cousin Joey. Chaos, pancakes, and poetic justice ensued. Hey Reddit. So, remember how my sister-in-law Kaitlyn, with a Y and the moral compass of a Real Housewives villain, was furious that I hired her hot ex as the bartender at my wedding? Well, apparently, she decided the universe owed her a redemption arc. So she planned a healing birthday brunch, which she marketed on Instagram as a feminine energy circle plus manifesting session, but was, in reality, a bottomless mimosa party with a photo booth and a balloon arch that said, Thrive, in gold cursive. She invited about 25 women, all described as select high-vibe souls. Guess who got an invite? Cousin Joey's girlfriend, Mia, who RSVP'd yes. Kaitlyn either forgot who Mia was dating or thought Mia wouldn't bring a +1. Spoiler, Mia brought Joey. They arrived together. Joey in a clean button-down, hair combed, looking like a Jiffy Lube ad but in the best possible way. They brought flowers. They were polite. Kaitlyn spotted them halfway through her guided gratitude toast and immediately dropped her champagne flute. It shattered. The room froze. The Spotify playlist, yes, it was coastal anti-vibes, kept playing Lana Del Rey softly in the background. She stood up and said, I didn't think we'd be including mechanics at this brunch. Y'all. Joey smiled. He nodded. And then he said, with absolute surgical level chill, good thing I'm off today. Otherwise, I'd have to charge you to fix that attitude. Reddit. The entire table wheezed. Someone actually spit out a mimosa. Mia said, you invited me, Kaitlyn? And Kaitlyn tried to reply, yes, but not him. Which is when someone else, shout out to cousin Tara, loudly whispered, she doesn't even own the brunch. At this point Kaitlyn stood up, screamed something about vibrational sabotage, and left her own brunch. We stayed. We ate pancakes. Someone ordered an extra round of espresso martinis in her honor. Joey helped the staff stack chairs at the end and got 3 phone numbers from brunch guests. Later that night, Kaitlyn posted an Instagram story of her crying in her car with the caption, "You try to rise and they drag you. Never again. Nazar amulet sparkles broken heart # still healing." Anyway, Joey has since been voted Family Event MVP in our cousin group chat and now ends texts with "Stay vibey." Kaitlyn has blocked him and Mia. Thank you, brunch gods. Update 2. Kaitlyn hosted a classy women's dinner that turned out to be a pyramid scheme pitch. Joey crashed it with lasagna and accidentally recruited more people than she did. Hey chaos connoisseurs. So Kaitlyn, still reeling from the brunch gone wrong. You know? The one where she shattered glass and vibes simultaneously. Decided she needed to reset the energy. Her solution: a sophisticated women's growth dinner. Yes, that was the actual name. It was described in the invite as an intimate evening of elegant food, high-frequency conversation, and passive income inspiration. My gut immediately said, cult. But my curiosity said, let's ride. This time, she did not invite Mia or Joey. Smart. Kind of. But Mia, being the icon she is, got invited separately by a mutual friend who said, "You have to see this in person." So we roll up to the dinner, which is in a candlelit rented co-working space. Everyone's dressed like they're going to an audition for the White Lotus, and there's a massive charcuterie board that somehow has no actual cheese on it. Just vibes. We're barely through the appetizer, which was just infused water with affirmation cards, when Kaitlyn stands up and says, "Ladies, tonight isn't just about nourishment. It's about financial freedom." Then she pulls out a slide deck. Again, you guessed it, she's pitching an MLM. Specifically, a wellness brand that sells overpriced essential oil starter kits, collagen packets, and something called gut glow sprinkles. She says we're all boss queens ready to rise, and hands out starter contracts like it's Oprah meets Wall Street. At this point, half the table is fake smiling like their lives depend on it. Enter Joey. He shows up uninvited, holding a giant aluminum tray of lasagna. Apparently, Mia texted him a "come rescue me" emoji. He walks in, smiles at everyone, and goes, "I brought carbs. I heard none survived the vibe filter." He sets the tray down next to the gut glow samples, grabs a plate, and casually sits. Kaitlyn is stunned into silence. Joey, unfazed, starts talking to one of the guests about their car trouble. 10 minutes later, he's exchanging numbers with a woman whose check engine light's been on since April. Meanwhile, Kaitlyn's pitch is crashing harder than her brunch. No one signs up. A few women start eating lasagna and ignoring the money manifestation worksheet. The cherry on top, someone asks Joey if he has a side hustle and he says, "Yeah, I fix stuff that's actually broken." Mic drop. Kaitlyn ends the night early with a tight-lipped, "Thank you all for attending this sacred space." Joey takes his tray home. People are still texting him for mechanic tips. Kaitlyn has since posted a cryptic Instagram reel of her staring at the ocean with the caption, "Some people are sent to test your vibration. Stay unbothered. Stay ascended." Update 3. Kaitlyn launched a podcast called Unfiltered Femininity and invited Joey on as a guest. It went viral for him. Hello again, beautiful disaster enthusiasts. So, since her sophisticated women's dinner flopped harder than her last relationship, Kaitlyn decided to pivot her personal brand again. This time, she's now a feminine energy thought leader and podcast host. Behold, Unfiltered Femininity with Kaitlyn Y. Yes, she added the Y to her name. For branding. The tagline? Where we get raw, real, and rise above low-frequency living. Her first few episodes were mostly her ranting into a Blue Yeti mic about vibe betrayal, toxic food choices, and how people who drink tap water attract stagnation. She is not okay. But here's the twist. She decided episode 4 would be a healing conversation with someone who embodies masculine resistance to emotional growth. Guess who she chose? Joey. Now, this is where you're probably yelling, why would he say yes? Because, folks, Joey is a troll with a heart of gold. And he said, sure, I'll bring cannoli. So they record. She sets the mood with incense and a Himalayan salt lamp. Joey shows up with his tool belt still on and a box of pastries. The episode starts civil. Kaitlyn tries to coach him live, asking questions like, "Do you know what shadow work is? How often do you cry into the earth? When did you first realize your energy blocked my glow?" Joey, deadpan, replies, "Last Tuesday, right after my oil change." She pushes harder, trying to corner him into some big emotional confession. Instead, he flips the script. He starts calmly talking about therapy. Yes, he's been going for a year, boundary setting, and how sometimes healing means knowing when to say no to MLMs and yes to carbs. He even drops the line, "Feminine energy doesn't mean selling people overpriced mood juice. It means being decent." Reddit, the comments lit up. The episode somehow hit TikTok. A 30-second clip of Joey saying, "You don't need sage, you need self-awareness," went viral. People are calling him the mechanic messiah. He gained 22K followers on Instagram. Kaitlyn gained 300 and lost 500. Meanwhile, someone made a meme comparing Joey to a golden retriever dragging a crystal shop owner out of a burning building. I cried. Kaitlyn posted a teary reflection video, saying the podcast was never about followers, and that Joey hijacked her healing journey. She hasn't recorded a new episode since. Joey, on the other hand, is working on a YouTube series called Fixing Cars and Fixing Myself. First episode drops next week. Sponsored by an actual lasagna company. Update 4. Kaitlyn went on a rebranding retreat in Sedona and had to call Joey after getting stranded during a solo moon cleanse. He showed up with snacks and sarcasm. "Hey Reddit, me again, your faithful narrator of family chaos and influencer meltdowns." So, after the podcast incident, the one where Joey accidentally became the patron saint of feminist auto repair, Kaitlyn took a brief hiatus from social media to realign with her divine path. She returned last week with a cryptic reel that just said, "Sometimes you must disconnect to elevate. Sedona is calling. Crystal ball sparkles cactus." That's right. She booked a solo reclamation journey to Sedona, Arizona, the unofficial capital of overpriced aura photography and yoga instructors named Jasper Rain. Her goal? To rebirth the next version of herself through silence, sage, and solar downloads. I'm quoting directly from her Instagram caption. Yes, there were fire emojis. Fast forward to this weekend. She goes on a moonlit hike cleanse at 2 a.m., without telling anyone where she's going, with no signal, no flashlight, and one half-charged vape, because apparently, headlamps dim your third eye, and guess what? She gets lost. Like, full on. I'm gonna need a helicopter or a miracle lost. Her phone dies while she's trying to voice note a goodbye message that starts with, "If this is the end, please make sure my crystals go to someone aligned." The irony? The only actual emergency number she had written down on paper was Joey's. Because, quote, "Even if I hate him, he always answers." Which is why, at 5:42 a.m., Joey, dead asleep, gets a call from a park ranger saying, "We found a woman named Kaitlyn Y. She says you're her emergency, masculine anchor." Joey sighs, grabs a hoodie, a granola bar, and a Gatorade, and drives 3 hours into the desert like some sarcastic Floridian spirit guide. He finds her sitting on a rock, wrapped in a beach towel, mascara halfway down her cheeks, holding a piece of Palo Santo like a distress flare. First words out of his mouth? "Well, if this isn't the most on-brand midlife crisis I've ever picked up." She doesn't even argue, just takes the Gatorade and mumbles something about the scorpions being emotionally cold. They drive in silence for a bit until Kaitlyn breaks down crying and says something surprisingly honest. "I don't think I know who I am without the drama." Joey, bless his healing therapist-loving heart, just says, "Cool. Maybe try being nice and seeing what happens." Later that day, she posts a selfie of herself in the car with the caption, "True masculinity is driving 3 hours without mocking your ex-sister-in-law's breakdown. Thanks, Joey." Cyclone. He reposts it and writes, "She's healing. Slowly. Like a '98 Corolla with a bad starter." Final update. Kaitlyn and Joey shared a mic at a family wedding. There were speeches, tears, a slow dance, and somehow a joint business idea. Hey Reddit, we made it. Somehow. Against all odds and most crystal-based logic. This weekend, my cousin Melissa got married. And of course, the entire extended circus of our family was invited. Kaitlyn and Joey? Both there. On opposite ends of the guest list. Yes, Melissa tried to seat them far apart. No, fate wasn't having it. To start, Kaitlyn shows up in a floor-length beige gown with feather sleeves and a turban. Joey rolls in 10 minutes late, in a navy suit that actually fit, holding a gift bag that said, "Congrats on the thing." We all assumed they'd avoid each other like mismatched chakras. Until, during the reception, the DJ asks for open mic toasts. Kaitlyn stands up. Then Joey stands up right after her. Chaos? You'd think. But Reddit, what happened next was kind of iconic. Kaitlyn's speech abridged highlights. I've been through a lot this year. Some of it was dramatic. Some of it was self-inflicted. All of it was deeply educational. I realized I don't hate the people who challenged me. I just didn't know how to stop performing long enough to grow. Joey, you didn't ruin my brunch or my podcast or my retreat. You ruined my excuses, and I weirdly respect that. Joey's speech, aka the toast of the night. I came here for the open bar and because Melissa said she'd kill me if I didn't. But I've got to say, Kaitlyn's right. She's been through it. And somehow, so have I. She made me think deeper. About boundaries. About lasagna. About not letting family drama stop you from being decent. Also, her essential oils still smell like expired shampoo. But we're working on that. Cue standing ovation. No joke. Grandma was crying. Later that night, I find them, together, outside, sipping wine and laughing. Joey says, "We're thinking of launching something." I say, "Like, a relationship?" Kaitlyn smirks. "Worse, a business." Apparently, they're planning a joint brand called High Vibe Repairs. A podcast/YouTube channel where she does wellness rants and he shows you how to change your spark plugs while unpacking emotional baggage. Tagline? Fix your engine. Fix your energy. It's dumb. It's beautiful. It's probably going viral again. Thanks for riding this dysfunctional, spiritually scented roller coaster with me. Reddit. If anyone wants early access to their first episode of High Vibe Repairs, hit me up. And remember, stay grounded, stay hydrated, stay petty but with growth. Thank you for stepping into another tale with me. Every story unlocks a different world, and I'm glad you were here for the journey. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to My Stories Unchained, where every ending is just the beginning of another adventure. Until next time, keep your mind open and your heart ready for the next story, Unchained.